You ever have one of those moments where you think someone's joking, so you laugh, but then their face stays completely serious, and the pit in your stomach drops because you realize, oh no, they're not kidding? That was me, sitting in the break room on a Tuesday afternoon with a plastic fork halfway to my mouth, staring at my coworker Claire. I should probably back up a little. I work in an office supply distribution company. Not exactly glamorous, but it pays my bills. I've been there about 4 years, long enough to know the rhythms, the cliques, the unspoken politics of the place. I'm not best friends with everyone, but I get along with most people. Claire started about a year ago. She's one of those people who just walks into a room and somehow everyone knows. She's bubbly, chatty, always posting about her life on social media. Honestly, she's nice, but also a lot. And ever since she got engaged to her fiancé Mark, every single conversation has been about her wedding. I don't mean every other conversation. I mean literally every conversation. From flowers to color schemes to what kind of plates they'll use at the reception. I'll admit, sometimes it was kind of fun listening, like I was watching a TV show I wasn't really invested in. But other times, I just wanted to eat my lunch without hearing about satin versus chiffon. Anyway, back to that Tuesday. She slid into the chair across from me with this big, excited grin. I thought she was just about to tell me some new detail about the catering. Instead, she leaned in, lowered her voice a little, and said, "Hey, can I ask you a huge favor?" I nodded cautiously, chewing my pasta. "So, I found the dress." Like the dress. It's everything I've dreamed about since I was a kid. But, she sighed dramatically, pressing her hand to her chest. "It's way more expensive than I budgeted for. And Mark doesn't want me to put it on a credit card." I blinked. "Oh, that sucks. I'm sure you'll find another one, though." She shook her head. "No, you don't understand. This is the dress. Like, when I put it on, I cried. My mom cried. Even the sales lady cried. It's meant to be." I gave her a sympathetic smile, but I was already thinking about going back to my desk. Then she dropped it. "So, I was wondering if you could loan me the money to get it." I actually laughed. I couldn't help it. It just spilled out. But her expression didn't change. She just tilted her head like she was waiting for me to answer. "Wait, you're serious?" I asked. She nodded. "Yeah, you've worked here longer, you're established. I know you probably have savings, and I swear I'll pay you back. It would just mean so much to me if I could have this dress." And that was the moment where I froze, pasta halfway to my mouth, realizing she wasn't joking. My first instinct was to just say no immediately, but something about how serious she was threw me off. I mumbled something like, I don't really know if I can do that." And she just gave me this pleading look. The rest of lunch was painfully awkward, with her trying to explain how it wouldn't be forever and how she'd totally pay me back before the honeymoon. When I finally got back to my desk, I couldn't concentrate on anything. My brain kept replaying the scene over and over. Was this really happening? Was she really asking me, a coworker, not even a close friend, for thousands of dollars for a wedding dress? And then, of course, I made the mistake of mentioning it to one other coworker later that day. By the end of that Tuesday, I could feel the air in our aisle change, like when you walk outside and no rain is coming even if the sky still looks blue. People were too quiet when I passed their desks. Conversations clipped themselves mid-sentence, and I caught a couple of those half-glances people do when they don't want you to know you're the subject. It didn't take long to find the leak. At 3:40, I went to refill my water bottle. The break room is a glass fishbowl wedged between accounting and sales. If the fluorescent lights don't give you a headache, the ancient fridge will with its rattling hum. As I rounded the corner, I heard Claire's voice. Sweet, smooth, practiced. I mean, she's been here longer, and she knows I'm good for it. It's not like I'm asking a stranger on the street. I just don't get why she's being so cold about it. There was a mumbled response, and then a sharper, chirpier voice I recognized as Janine from sales. Honestly, that's rough. If my friend asked me, I'd want to help. It's your wedding. People forget how once-in-a-lifetime it is. I stopped. I know. I could have marched in and confronted it. But instead I did what any deeply conflict-avoidant person does. I backed away, cheeks hot, heart thudding, water bottle empty. I stood in the hallway staring at a framed poster about time management and felt my ears ring. By closing time, I'd convinced myself it would blow over. I'd tell Claire a firm but kind no. She'd be disappointed, and we'd move on to debating which flavor muffins the Friday meeting should have. That's how I wanted the day after to go. Instead, it started with an email. Subject line, Team Gift Opportunity, sent by Janine, to our entire floor. I clicked it, and the email opened like a trapdoor. It said something about supporting a special day, community, and helping a friend make dreams come true. At the bottom was a link to a group wedding fund, with tiers and cutesy names like Sparkle Sponsor and Fairy Tale Friend. And, bolded, if you'd prefer to contribute privately, please reach out to me or Claire. I felt my lungs deflate. It wasn't just the ask anymore. It was the campaign. I tried to ignore it and get through my morning. Then people started coming by my desk, not outright asking, but circling. Did you see the email? Are you going to the dress appointment on Saturday? They do complimentary cupcakes. It's so inspiring watching Claire plan. She's doing it with such grace despite the budget stuff. I kept my answers clipped, non-committal. The less I said, the better, right? Around 10:30, Claire appeared at my elbow, freshly lip-glossed, a pink folder tucked to her chest. Hey, got a sec? She didn't wait for an answer. So I talked to Janine, and she said the fund is already off to a cute start. She laughed, like this was a bake sale. But I wanted to follow up with you personally because you're special to me. I know you said you weren't sure yesterday, and I totally respect boundaries. She lowered her voice. But the boutique can only hold the dress for me until Friday night. They've got another bride eyeing it. If you could front me even half, I'll pay you back as soon as the honeymoon fund clears. I stared at the sticky note she'd placed on my keyboard, numbers circled, repayment dates written with little hearts for dots. I took a breath that rattled. Claire, I can't loan you money. I'm sorry. Her expression flickered. Not devastation, calculation. Like she'd expected me to bend and was adjusting in real time. Okay, I hear you, she said, though her smile stiffened. Can I ask why? Is it the amount? Because I can make it less and just put the rest on Klarna. But Mark hates when I do that because... It's not the amount, I said, a little too quickly. I don't loan money to coworkers. It's a line I keep. It helps me avoid awkwardness. The smile slid farther. We're not just coworkers, she said softly. We do coffee. You know about my mom. I asked you to be a reader at the ceremony. I said I'd think about that. I said, feeling my stomach squirm. And we are coworkers. We can be friendly and still have boundaries. She blinked like I'd slapped her, then pasted the smile back on. Okay, totally get it. Her voice went one notch too bright. Thanks for being honest. She left. The sticky note remained on my keyboard like a neon bruise. At lunch, my usual table had someone else's salad sitting at my spot. It wasn't reserved, obviously, but I'd sat there for years, and routines in offices become territories. I hovered, unsure. Luke from inventory looked up, then down. We're saving seats for the wedding team, he said lightly, as if it was a cute joke. I ended up eating at my desk, staring at spreadsheets while the smell of microwaved fish seeped through the air vents. When I got up to refill my water, I was determined to get that water, for some reason, like refilling it would reinflate my dignity. The break room door opened and Marisol from accounting swept in. She has this maternal energy that makes people tell her their problems at the copier. Honey, she said, voice pitched low. You're getting a reputation. My laugh came out brittle. Oh, good. What kind? The kind where people say you're not a team player. She straightened the stack of paper plates as if organizing would soften the words. I'm not saying it's fair. I'm saying people get weird about weddings. It makes otherwise reasonable people unhinged. I said no to loaning money. I said, that's allowed. It is, she said. But you know how narratives grow legs. I'd suggest you get ahead of it. How? She shrugged. Some small, symbolic thing. Buy cupcakes for Friday's meeting. Compliment the flowers. Show up for one dress fitting, and then remember a prior commitment. It's ridiculous, but optics matter. I wanted to say I shouldn't have to manage optics because I declined to fund a gown. Instead, I thanked her because Marisol didn't make the weather. She just reads the clouds better than most. By mid-afternoon, I typed exactly 6 real emails and 19 drafts that said per my last email before I deleted them all. At 4:12, Janine's email notification pinged again. Dress appointment, Saturday, with a list of attendees and a line that read, no pressure to contribute, but we'll be taking a yes dress photo for Claire's memory book. My name was on the list. I hadn't RSVP'd. I was still staring at the screen when my boss, Eric, tapped my cube wall. He's one of those middle managers who collects motivational quotes and somehow ends every sentence with a question mark. Hey, could I grab you for a quick chat? In the little glass conference room, he did the soothing, palms open thing. I've been hearing murmurs, he said, about tension on the team. You know I want us all to feel supported? What can we do to, recenter? You mean the wedding fund? I said flatly. He winced. I can't tell anyone how to spend money. Obviously. But I also believe in harmony. If you could, I don't know, be mindful. We're all looking forward to celebrating Claire's big day. I stared at him. Are you asking me to donate? No, absolutely not. He smiled tight. Just, remember, we're a family. Families show up for each other. I left the room with my jaw clenched so hard it hurt. I thought about Marisol's advice. I thought about Eric's not quite directive. I thought about the sticky note with repayment dates and tiny hearts. And something inside me stiffened. Family doesn't force loans for a dress. Family doesn't turn lunch into a loyalty test. At 5:02, as I was shutting down my computer, my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Hi, this is Lena, Claire's maid of honor. She shared your number because you're a close colleague. We're organizing a surprise bridal brunch fund this Friday. Suggested contribution, $150. Let me know if you need Venmo. I stared at the screen until the words went slippery. Close colleague. Suggested contribution. Venmo. My thumb hovered over the keyboard. I typed. No thanks. I won't be contributing. I hit send. Within 5 minutes, my screen lit up again, not with a reply from Lena, but with something else entirely. A new group chat was created, 18 participants added, the title, Dress Angels. And my name wasn't in it, which would have been a relief, except a screenshot of that chat appeared on my monitor 2 minutes later, forwarded by a coworker with a single message. Heads up. They're talking. I wasn't trying to snoop. I swear. Hannah from customer care sent me the screenshot because she said, you should know what's being said. Then she sent 3 more before I could tell her to stop. Most of it was saccharine planning, emojis, glitter fonts, a countdown gif. But here and there were barbed comments wrapped in sugar. Some people value love, others value their bank accounts, and that's okay. We can still make this magic without certain negative energies. And then, the one that made something go cold in my chest. It's crazy when people who don't even have a partner refuse to support people who do. I set my phone face down and stared at the tiny nicks on my desk laminate. I knew these weren't strangers on a forum. These were people whose laughter I could recognize from down the hall. But the casual cruelty still startled me. That jab about not having a partner. I hadn't talked about my personal life much at work, but everyone knows enough to fill in blanks. It's amazing how quickly your life becomes a plotline to people who barely know your middle name. At 10 o'clock, coffee break time approached like a test I didn't study for. I walked in determined to apply Marisol's optics, plan, smile, compliment, exit. Claire was at the counter pouring hazelnut creamer with a flourish, laughing with Janine and Luke. The energy paused when I entered, then resumed one notch too loud. Your nails look great, Claire, I said, because they did. Pale pink with tiny pearls glued near the cuticles. Very bridal. She turned, her smile bright and precise. Thanks. Lena and I did them last night. She is such a gem, like a real friend who just gets it. Her eyes flicked past me as if I were invisible dust in the sunlight. Janine leaned in, conspiratorial. We're doing a surprise ribbon bouquet rehearsal this afternoon, she said to the group, not to me. Only the angels, though. I pretended I had no idea what that meant and poured my coffee. I asked Luke about his weekend plan to fix his motorcycle. I nodded at Hannah and mouthed, thank you, without picking up my phone. I hit all my marks. Smile, compliment, exit. Back at my desk, Eric popped his head over the cube wall. I just approved your PTO for next month, he said, projecting chirpy normalcy. Great that you're taking time for yourself. I blinked. I hadn't requested PTO. I opened my email. There it was, a confirmed request I hadn't made. 10 business days, starting the week before Claire's wedding. A calendar invite to the whole team. Accepted. She'd done it. Or someone had done it on her behalf. The subject line, so excited for your time off. The body, taking a break before the wedding is such a good idea. We support you. My stomach dropped. I clicked View History. The request came from my account at 8:13 a.m. I was in the building, logged into my desktop. I checked the IP logs. Perk of being friendly with IT, or used to be. Same machine, which meant someone used my computer while I was away from my desk. I thought back to my walk to the copier around 8 o'clock, the 5 minutes I waited for a jam to clear. I marched to IT, anger a clean, steady flame. Devin looked up, surprised. We usually talk about podcasts, not emergency account breaches. Can you pull the camera for the aisle between 8:05 and 8:15? I asked, trying to keep my voice even. We don't just. It's my account, I said. Someone used it. He frowned, then nodded, tapping keys. We only keep hallway footage for a week, but I can check. He pulled it up and swiveled the screen toward me. The angle was bad, fisheye, with a timestamp drifting like a lazy second hand. At 8:11, someone breezed into my cube. Ponytail, cardigan, a pink folder hugging her side. Claire. Devin looked uneasy. I mean, she could have been leaving you a note. I thought of the PTO approval, the cutesy subject line, the angels chat. A note. Right. I walked back to my desk floating above the floor, fury keeping me upright. Claire was on a call, head tilted, doing that nod smile people do when they want the client to know they're smiling. I stood there until she looked up. Can we talk? I said. She covered the receiver with her hand. I'm with a customer, she whispered. I'll wait. She held my gaze an uncomfortable beat and then ended the call with a quick, breathy goodbye. What's up? You put in a PTO request from my computer, I said. Without my permission. She blinked. Oh, that. She actually laughed. It was supposed to be a fun surprise. We were talking about how burnout you seemed, and I thought, wouldn't it be cute if we gave you a pre-wedding recharge? My wedding, I said. Claire, that's not funny. She rolled her eyes. Not for your wedding. For mine. You've been so tense and, prickly about everything. Time away could help you come back with a fresh perspective. And it gave us some breathing room to plan without worrying about who's not on board. So you wanted me out of the office, I said. Because I won't fund your dress. She flinched, then straightened. I wanted peace. And you've been creating friction. I was trying to be kind. By accessing my computer? Submitting vacation time? Announcing it to the team? She shrugged, hands up in mock surrender. Do you want me to cancel it? I can. But honestly, it might be healthier for everyone if you took the time. Something inside me clicked into place. It was the sound a lock makes when it turns. Cancel it, I said. Now. And don't touch my desk again. She stared, the sugar varnish finally cracking. Wow. You really don't want me to be happy. This isn't about your happiness, I said. It's about boundaries. She stood. Fine. She walked to her desk, hips tight, and started typing. 30 seconds later, my email pinged. PTO request retracted. She turned back, voice syrupy enough to rot teeth. There. Happy? No, I said. But it's a start. The rest of the day was a parade of side-eye. Someone had obviously been fed a script about my negativity. When I passed the bullpen, the room went quiet. Even the printers seemed to hush. I kept my head down and did my work. At 4:47, Hannah DM'd me. You good? I typed, define good, then deleted it and sent a smiley face instead. At 5:12, as I packed up, Eric appeared again. Can I see you? End of day chat. His tone was softer now, eyebrows knit. In the conference room, he folded his hands. Claire came to me upset. She said you confronted her in a way that made her feel unsafe. I laughed once, shocked. I confronted her because she used my computer to file PTO. He raised his eyebrows. She told me she was helping you. She said your tone was aggressive. I asked her to stop. That's it. He sighed. Look, I don't want to escalate. But HR asked me to document the conversation. Just a note in the file. Standard. Nothing to worry about. A note in the file. A familiar phrase that feels innocuous until you picture it pulled in a meeting 6 months from now, brought up with a small, regretful shake of the head. I felt that steady flame rise again. I want to talk to HR, I said. Now. He blinked, clearly not expecting that. It's late. I'll email them, I said. And I'll include the fact that there's security footage of Claire at my desk during the exact window my PTO was filed. He sat back. Okay. Let's just take a breath. I've taken a lot of breaths, I said. This one is going in writing. I went home and wrote the email. I attached the timestamps Devin showed me, not the footage itself. I couldn't pull that, but enough to indicate I'd seen it. I described the group fundraising push and the targeted comments. I kept it factual. I kept it calm. I hit send. 2 hours later, as I was chopping vegetables and trying not to cry over onions for reasons unrelated to sulfur compounds, my phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. Not Lena this time. A local number. Hey, this is Mark. The fiancé. We need to talk. Hi. I answered, knife paused midair over a bell pepper. Mark's voice was lower than I expected, pleasant, with that careful politeness you hear in people who sell insurance or luxury cars. Thanks for picking up, he said. Claire is in tears. I want to sort this out. I sighed and set the knife down. Mark, I don't know what you've been told, but she told me you're refusing to help with her dress, he cut in gently, and that you're starting office drama. My laugh was hollow. I refused to loan her money. I didn't start a fundraiser. I didn't put in PTO requests from other people's computers. There was a pause on his end, not quite confusion, not quite surprise. Claire said that was a misunderstanding. She thought she was helping, giving you a break. She gave me a break by trying to push me out so I'd stop being a problem, I said. She also gave my number to her maid of honor, who texted me with a suggested contribution for a surprise fund. I declined politely. For that, I'm now the villain. He exhaled, a sound like someone pinching the bridge of his nose. Look, we're under a lot of stress. The dress means a lot to Claire. It's not just fabric to her. It's tied up with her mom. She always pictured her mom buttoning her into something special. Her mom's been sick. There's an emotional overlay. I know about her mom, I said. I feel for her. But her emotional overlay doesn't entitle her to my bank account or my workspace. Of course not, he said quickly. I'm not saying you owe us money. I'm saying, could you be gentler? It's not about the amount. It's about how she felt dismissed. I said no kindly. I said, twice. The unkindness started when people began implying I'm single and bitter. Silence hummed. Then, I'll talk to her about that. He cleared his throat. But can I make a suggestion? There's a way through this that gives everyone peace. He hesitated, then continued as if making a sales pitch. You could make a symbolic contribution, like $20. Claire's perception would shift. People would see you as supportive. The specifics wouldn't matter. It would just change the narrative. I stared at the spice rack, something angry beating in my ears. So I buy my way out of being treated poorly. It's not buying your way out. It's social grease. Mark, I said, I didn't pick this fight. I'm not greasing a wheel I didn't set on fire. He let out a soft laugh, surprised. Okay, I hear you. A beat. Can I say something honest? Claire is intense. She gets locked on an idea, and the dress became symbol and object all in one. I've tried to nudge her toward a more reasonable option, but when she's convinced, she's convinced. I'm spending my evenings walking a tightrope between not feeding the obsession and not being the guy who doesn't support her dream. He exhaled. I'm asking if you'd be willing to just step to the side and let it blow past. I am to the side, I said. She's the one who pulled me into the middle. Fair, he said. Okay, I'll handle it with her. And just, I'm sorry. I really am. We hung up with the kind of strained politeness you reserve for neighbors who park in your spot. I tried to go back to chopping vegetables, but my hands were shaking. It wasn't just the ask. It was the presumption that my peace of mind had a price tag, and that price could be covered with optics. The next morning, a reply from HR waited in my inbox. We take these matters seriously. Please join us at 11 o'clock with your manager. It was one of those carefully neutral emails that could mean anything from, we'll fix this, to, we're building a case either way. I printed the email, printed my original message, printed the PTO confirmation and retraction. Paper felt like armor. At 10:55, I walked into the HR office. Tricia sat behind a desk with 2 plants and a jar of branded stress balls. Eric arrived, eyebrows up like he wanted to convey ally without words. We sat. Tricia's smile was soft and symmetrical. Thanks for coming in. We're here to listen and to ensure everyone's comfortable at work. I laid out the timeline. The ask, the fundraiser, the text, the PTO, the chat. I didn't mention the fiancé because this wasn't about Mark, it was about the office. Tricia took notes, occasionally nodding. Do you feel you're being harassed? She asked. I paused. The word felt heavy. I feel targeted, I said. And I feel like my refusal to financially participate has been turned into a character judgment. She nodded again, neutral. And what outcome would feel appropriate to you? Boundaries, I said. No more solicitations. No more group asks or surprise funds. No using each other's computers. No retaliatory comments. I don't want to be in any meetings about the wedding. I don't want my name on any lists. She wrote, clear boundaries, then looked at Eric. Have there been performance issues? He shook his head quickly. No, absolutely not. If anything, she's been a rock. Reliable. I almost laughed. When conflict flares, people remember your value in bullet points. Trisha folded her hands. We'll speak to the individuals involved. We'll remind the team of our policy on solicitations during work hours and our expectations around respectful conduct. We'll also be sending out a company-wide refresh on device usage and privacy. She glanced at me. Would you like us to keep your name out of it? I considered. It won't matter, I said. Everyone knows it's me. Trisha nodded. We'll still try to be discreet. The meeting ended with the exchange of a stress ball. I left with it squeezed tight in my palm. The rubber's smooth give a small relief I didn't know I needed. At my desk, an email from Trisha arrived within the hour. Reminder, personal fundraising and device privacy. It was sent to the whole company. Neutral tone, bullet points, the kind of memo that says everything and nothing at once. By lunch, the air had shifted. Not cleared. More like the moment after thunder when the sky is a bruise. Conversations were tight-lipped. Janine avoided eye contact. Luke suddenly had headphones welded to his head. Hannah mouthed, "You okay?" from down the aisle with a small thumbs up. I gave her a tiny nod. At 2:30, Claire appeared at my cube, 2 HR-approved paces away, arms crossed. Message received, she said evenly. I swiveled. I didn't send it. You might as well have, she said. You embarrassed me. I asked for basic boundaries. She smiled, thin. You think policies will save you? People remember who shows up. On the day, when I'm walking down the aisle, everyone who loved me will be there. They will be the family I choose. And the ones who didn't? She flicked imaginary dust from her sleeve. They'll just be stories I tell later. Then tell a true one, I said. Tell them you asked your coworker for thousands of dollars, and she said no because she keeps work and money separate. Tell them you wanted to be loved so much you tried to enforce it. Her eyes flashed. Enjoy your policies, she said, and turned away. At 4 o'clock, Trisha called Claire into HR. At 4:45, Claire came out, eyes bright, cheeks flushed, the kind of furious smile that says, I convinced myself I won. She walked past my desk without looking at me. At 5:05, as I packed up, I got a DM from an old colleague who left last year for another company. We hadn't talked in months. Hey, it read. I heard your name at a trivia night yesterday. Weird question. Are you aware of a post about you on a local wedding forum? Thought you'd want to see. There was a screenshot attached. It was a paragraph about a toxic coworker who was anti-love, obsessed with rules, and trying to sabotage a bride's dream. The details weren't exact, but they were close enough. The last line made my mouth go dry. If she keeps this up, we may have to consider consequences that affect her job. Consequences. Affect her job. The username was anonymous. The tone was familiar. I sat in my car long after the lot emptied, hands on the wheel, the world narrowing to the blue glow of my phone. I did not cry. I did not yell. I opened my notes app and started writing everything down with timestamps, like I was my own stenographer. By the time I looked up, the parking lights had flipped off. The lot was black. In the rearview mirror, my face looked like someone else's, a stranger who knew exactly what she had to do next and wasn't sure if it would save her or burn the entire place down. The next morning, the office felt like a stage before the curtain rises. People were at their desks, but posture was different, more upright, more aware of exits. I logged in and immediately saw the calendar invite. Mandatory team meeting, 10:30. No agenda, no explanation. 10 minutes later, Eric swung by with a brittle smile. See you in the conference room? At 10:29, we filed in. Me, Claire, Janine, Luke, Hannah, a scattering of others. Trisha from HR sat at the end of the table with a legal pad. Eric cleared his throat. I wanted to get us all together to, realign. He nodded at Trisha. She gave a calm smile. We've had reports of tension. I'd like to remind everyone of our policies around solicitations. Claire raised her hand with a bright, false laugh. Can I speak? She didn't wait for permission. I think this has all been blown out of proportion. I've been trying to plan my wedding while doing my job, and I've been met with, frankly, hostility. I feel judged for wanting something nice. I feel like a certain person doesn't want me to be happy. Eyes slid to me and then away, like swallows skirting a storm. Trisha held up a hand. We're not naming individuals. Claire's smile tightened. I won't name names, but we all know who has been icy. I just want support, not sabotage. I opened my mouth, but Trisha shook her head. Not now. Eric piped up. Let's all recommit to being a family. Weddings are stressful. Deadlines are stressful. Let's give grace. The word family again. It felt weaponized now, like a yardstick you're hit with for not growing fast enough. I stared at the wood grain on the table and let their words slide over me like oil. When the meeting ended, people dispersed with shaky laughter. No resolution, just a layer of varnish over rotten wood. At lunch, I took my salad outside. The September air was clean and edged with the first hint of fall. I ate on a bench behind the building and let my shoulders drop an inch. I was mid-bite when my phone buzzed. A Venmo request. From Claire. Wedding dress fund for the exact amount she'd first asked me to loan her. My fork froze. The audacity was almost elegant. She'd been told not to solicit at work, so she came to my personal phone with a pure, bald ask, sanitized by an emoji. I declined the request. Then I blocked her on Venmo. At 2 o'clock, I got an email from procurement asking for my sign-off on a rush order. I clicked the link and couldn't access the file. Permission denied. I tried 3 more links, same error. I messaged Devin in IT. Weird permissions issue. He replied, your role was downgraded this morning. Did Eric ask for that? He sent a screenshot. My access toggled from manager-level view to basic. My stomach dropped. I marched to Eric's office. He looked up, startled. Everything okay? IT says my access was downgraded. I said. He frowned, clicked around. Oh, yeah. I thought that might help streamline. You've been overloaded lately, right? We're trying to protect your workload. By preventing me from doing my job, I said. He put his hands up. It's temporary. We'll reassess after the wedding. After the wedding. The phrase hung between us like a bad smell. I left his office and closed the door gently so I wouldn't slam it. Back at my desk, Hannah rolled over in her chair, voice low. This is messed up. Understatement, I said. I heard Janine saying they're moving people around for coverage during the wedding, but I think it's cover to box you out. Can you send me anything you hear? I asked. Only if you're comfortable. She nodded. I'll be careful. She hesitated. Also, I'm sorry. I put 20 in the fund. I felt cornered. Please don't think. I don't, I said, and meant it. Do what you need to survive. At 4:15, an email popped up from No Reply Events. Reminder, dress shopping outing, Saturday, 11 a.m. Please bring snacks. I hadn't RSVP'd yes, but my name was still on the list. I clicked decline pointedly. Within minutes, I got a DM from Janine. Noted. Just that. I stared at the single word until it blurred. I made it through the afternoon on stubbornness and gummy vitamins. At 5 o'clock, as people packed up, Claire breezed by in a cloud of floral perfume. She stopped at my cube. Just so you know, she said sweetly. The boutique called. Someone offered to pay the deposit anonymously. She tilted her head. See? When you close one door, another opens. That's great, I said, carefully neutral. She leaned closer, conspiratorial. I bet you're wondering who. Here's a hint. It's someone who actually believes in love. She straightened. You could learn from them. She left before I could respond. My hands shook with the effort of not typing a reply she'd screenshot for the Angels chat. At home, I tried to decompress. I cooked. I put on a mindless show. I failed. At 8:30, my phone buzzed again. A follow request on a private social account. The username was unfamiliar. Truth for brides. Profile pic, a stock photo of a bouquet. I didn't accept. I scrolled, stared at the ceiling, and finally fell into a thin sleep. Sometime after midnight, a car idled outside my building long enough to make me sit up. Headlights slid across my ceiling like slow lightning. I went to the window and parted the blinds. A sedan sat at the curb. I couldn't see the driver's face, just the glow of a screen. After a minute, the car pulled away. I told myself it was nothing. I went back to bed. I slept in 20-minute increments, startled awake by phantom notifications. At 6:27 a.m., the world lit up with a different kind of glow, my phone exploding. Messages from coworkers, friends, even my aunt. All variations of "Are you okay?" and "Have you seen this?" I opened the link in Hannah's text, fingers numb. It was a public post from an anonymous account, the Bouquet One, tagging my company. It didn't name me, but it used enough identifiers that anyone at work would know. It accused a heartless colleague of trying to sabotage a bride's happiness, of harassment, of workplace bullying. It included a photo of a sticky note with repayment dates and tiny hearts, the one Claire had placed on my keyboard. The photo was taken at my desk. The caption ended with, "If her employer supports this kind of cruelty, maybe they should hear from us." And below, dozens of comments. A few reasonable, most not. Find her boss. Get her fired. How can people be so hateful? The algorithm began to churn. My chest tightened until it hurt. I texted Eric, "We need to talk. Now." I emailed HR with the link. I grabbed my keys and left early, the morning air raw and too bright. I parked and sat for a second, breathing like I was about to walk onto a stage. Then I went in. In the lobby, Claire stood with Janine, animated, the way people get when they know they've set something in motion and can't wait to see where it lands. Claire's eyes met mine for half a second. Something flickered. Guilt? No. Triumph. She turned away. At my desk, I found a small white envelope. No return name. Inside, a single printed page, a screenshot of the anonymous post, blown up. At the bottom, in neat, careful handwriting, "Maybe a little kindness next time." I looked up. Around me, people were pretending very hard to work. I sat down. I opened my email. A new message from Trisha sat at the top, flagged urgent. "Please come to HR at 9 o'clock. It was 8:52. I stood up, legs a little shaky, and walked to the hallway. As I turned the corner, someone's voice carried from the conference room. Claire's, bright, performative. "I just want peace." I pushed open the HR door and stopped dead. Sitting beside Trisha, looking perfectly at home, was Mark. Mark stood when I entered, smoothing his tie like we were at brunch. "Thanks for meeting," he said, as if I'd invited him. Trisha gestured to the chair. We asked Mark to join to provide context. I sat slowly, watching Trisha over steepled fingers. Is it standard practice to involve an employee's coworker's fiancé in an HR meeting? Trisha's smile flickered. We're navigating a sensitive situation with a lot of emotions. Mark reached out to share his perspective. So he'd called HR. Of course he had. I folded my hands in my lap. Okay, let's hear the perspective. Mark cleared his throat, looking the part of the reasonable man in a storm of overreacting women. I want to say up front, I don't think anyone should be forced to give money. We never asked for that. He glanced at Trisha as if to score points for reasonableness. But the environment has become toxic. Claire feels targeted. She says she's been met with hostility and judgment. And now there's online harassment muddying the company's name. We all want this to stop. I kept my voice even. I said no to loaning money, repeatedly and politely. After that, I was added to group solicitations, my number was shared, my device was accessed without permission, my access at work was downgraded, and an anonymous account posted a picture from my desk calling for public intervention. I turned to Trisha. At what point do we stop calling this sensitive and start calling it what it is? Trisha nodded, jotting notes. We are addressing the online post with our legal team. We're also investigating the device access. As for the culture, I put out a general call for support, Mark said quickly, because Claire was in tears. Maybe some people took it too far. His phone buzzed on the table. He flipped it over, face grimacing a little. We've been advised to document everything. He glanced at me. Which, by the way, you should be careful about too. Things you say can be misconstrued. That's rich, I said before I could stop myself. Trisha held up a hand. Let's keep this constructive. I inhaled slowly. Here's my constructive ask. I want a written notice sent to the team that personal fundraising is not permitted in work channels. I want the company to denounce the online post and clarify that employees will not be penalized for declining personal requests. I want my access restored, and I want assurance I won't face retaliation. Trisha nodded, pen moving. We can do most of that. She hesitated. The online post is tricky because it doesn't name the company explicitly, but we can issue a statement about values. Mark leaned in, playing the peacemaker. What if we all agree to stop talking about the wedding at work? Claire included. We reset. Fresh start. I'd love that, I said. I never wanted to talk about the wedding at work. He smiled like we'd struck a deal. Great. And, if you felt comfortable making a gesture. I laughed once. Still no. He held up his hands. Had to try. Trisha slid a paper toward me. We'll send a memo. We'll also schedule a team workshop on boundaries. A workshop? Of course. The corporate cure-all. I nodded because I needed this to be over. I stood. Is that all? Trisha hesitated. One more thing. We're encouraging everyone to avoid engaging with the online account. We don't want to amplify it. We're also advising you to make your personal profiles private. Done, I said. We broke like a scene cut. In the hallway, Mark caught up with me. Off the record, he said. Thank you for not blowing up in there. I don't blow up, I said. I collect receipts. He smiled, then sobered. I did not know about the device access, he said. That's not okay. He glanced around, lowered his voice. I'm going to try to get Claire to step back. But you should know, there are people around her who love the drama. They're feeding it. She performs for them. He exhaled. I'm hoping the dress deposit from the anonymous angel takes the pressure off. He paused, watching my face. You want me to ask who it is? I said. He shrugged. I didn't ask. I assume it's her aunt. She's always wanted Claire to have the princess treatment. His eyes darted away for a second, then back. Either way, thank you for not making this harder. He left with that, the tone of a man who thinks he's done well by everyone. Back at my desk, fresh emails bloomed. The memo about solicitations, the invite to a Boundaries in the Workplace webinar, the notice that my access was restored. A small wave of relief washed through me, then receded fast. Because relief isn't the same as repair. Around 2 o'clock, I felt it. A current, subtle at first, then stronger, like unseen tide. People were quieter. There was less giggling, fewer whispered huddles. A few coworkers swung by my desk with mundane questions about orders and invoices, not performative small talk. The machine of the day creaked back into motion. At 3:12, a new anonymous post went up. I wouldn't have known if Hannah hadn't texted me. Do not look. Which, of course, made me look. This one wasn't about me. It was about the community rallying to protect a bride from workplace cruelty. It included a screenshot of the no solicitations memo with the company name blurred, framed as an attack on generosity. The comments were uglier. Someone posted my general job title. Someone else guessed the city. Nobody got it exactly right, but the darts were landing closer to the center of the board. I forwarded the link to Trisha with a single sentence. Escalating. She replied, we're on it. At 4:45, as the office drained of people headed to happy hour, I stayed, pretending to tidy my desk while the floor quieted. When I finally stood to leave, I noticed something tucked under my keyboard, a Polaroid. It was my desk, captured from a low angle. In the frame, my coffee mug, the stress ball, the corner of my monitor. On the back, in looping handwriting, smile. You're part of the story too. My skin prickled. My chair squeaked as I sat back down hard. Who still used Polaroids? Why slide it under my keyboard like a party favor? I scanned the room. Empty. The janitorial staff clinked their cart at the far end of the hall. I put the Polaroid in a plastic sleeve in my folder. I was done reacting. I was documenting. I went home in early dusk, the sky bruised purple. Before I could even kick off my shoes, my phone pinged. A message from an unknown number with a single photo. Claire in a bridal boutique, the dress a froth of lace and tulle, eyes wet, smile blazing. Underneath, she said yes. Thanks to friends who care. The angle made it obvious whoever took it wanted me to see that dress, to imprint it on my brain like a threat or a spell. My thumb hovered over delete. Instead, I saved it, not as a keepsake, but as evidence. If there was an anonymous angel, they wanted me to know they were real, or they wanted me to think they were. I put my phone face down and sat in the quiet. There's a difference between drama and danger. I felt the line shifting under my feet like a fault about to slip. When the knock came at 8:10, I jumped. I wasn't expecting anyone. I looked through the peephole, no one. I opened the door a crack and looked down. On the welcome mat, a garment bag, white and gleaming under the porch light. The tag read, in calligraphy, for you, with love. When I opened the garment bag on my couch, I expected it to be empty or a prank. Instead, a satin dress slid out, my size, my name written on the collar tag. It came with an invoice from the boutique showing a deposit paid on my credit card. I hadn't been to the boutique. I hadn't authorized anything. When I called, the saleswoman chirped about a friend who'd placed the order and even confirmed it by replying from my work email. That's when I realized whoever accessed my computer for PTO also used it for this. I froze the card, called the bank, and sent everything to HR. My IT friend Devin confirmed the email was sent from my machine. Someone had sat there, typing like they knew exactly what to do. Then my phone rang. A woman's voice, cheerful but wrong, asked, "Do you like the dress?" She laughed when I threatened police. "Just wear it at the ceremony, read beautifully, and this will all be over. Lock your kitchen window, by the way. That latch is loose." I hung up, heart hammering. My kitchen window was loose. I walked over. The latch was set, but there was a smear of clear lip gloss on the sill. Minutes later, an anonymous post went live, a photo of my living room window from outside. Caption, "She'll come around. She has to." And I knew exactly whose gloss it was. Janine. Always reapplying that peach gloss. Always leaning over people's desks. She had a Polaroid at her birthday party too, the same kind that left the creepy photo under my keyboard. I asked Hannah to check. Sure enough, Janine's camera was lent to a friend. Building security pulled a still shot of someone in a cardigan under my window. The silhouette looked like her. I went straight to HR. In front of me, Eric, Trisha, and Mark. And then Janine walked in, glossy smile plastered on. I laid out the evidence. Gloss on my sill, IT logs, security footage. Devin confirmed the typing pattern didn't match mine, but did match Janine's. She tried to laugh it off, but when pressed, she admitted it. "It started as a joke," she said. "She's so uptight. Put her in a dress, make her part of it, problem solved." Trisha's face was stone. "You're suspended effective immediately." Janine's eyes burned into me. "You could have avoided this with a little generosity." As security let her out, Claire just stood frozen, eyes wide. That afternoon, my phone buzzed. A message from Mark. "Can we talk?" "Not about you. About Claire. We met at a coffee shop." Mark looked wrecked. "I asked Claire if she knew," he said. "She cried, said yes. Then no, then blamed me for asking." He stirred his coffee, jaw tight. "She's been living in a story where the wedding's a movie." Janine fed it. "Maybe I did too." Then he looked at me, steady. "I'm calling it off. The wedding's over." I sat stunned. After all the chaos, it was that simple. No wedding. "I'm sorry," I said quietly. He slid an envelope to me, a template from his lawyer friend for a no-contact letter. "Use it. Protect yourself." That night, I taped my window shut, changed my locks. At 2 a.m., there was a knock. I didn't open it, but security picked up an envelope left at my door. Inside, a photo of me at my desk. On the back, "Last chance to be part of the happiest day." The next morning, Claire was escorted out on extended leave. I thought it was finally over. Until my phone buzzed again, a new anonymous photo. Me and Mark at the coffee shop. Taken from behind the counter. The cafe manager didn't even look surprised when I showed her the anonymous photo. She tilted her head toward the ceiling camera and said, "Let's check." A few minutes later, she came back with stills printed from their feed. There she was. At the counter, floral blazer, phone tilted just so. Lena, the maid of honor. The realization hit like a cold wave. Janine had been the hand, the gloss, the trespassing, the ridiculous dress stunt. But Lena? Lena had been the megaphone the whole time. She'd organized the Venmo suggestions, stirred the online posts, snapped the photos. And Claire had let it all happen, pretending not to know too much so she could keep her hands clean while everyone else did the dirty work. I took the stills straight to HR. Trisha's face hardened as soon as she saw them. "She doesn't work here, but she'll be named in the police report. Mark already called. The venue's canceled. Deposits are being returned. The wedding is officially off." The office was eerily quiet that day. No chatter, no giggles, no whispered alliances. Just the sound of keyboards and the faint hum of printers. Like a storm had passed, and everyone was stepping outside to see what was left standing. Small kindnesses began to appear. Marisol set a muffin on my desk with a wink. Hannah sent me the dumbest meme she could find, and I laughed harder than I expected. Devin stopped by to install a privacy screen on my monitor and quietly showed me how to set alerts in case anyone ever tried to log into my account again. The police followed through too. Janine was served with a temporary restraining order. The bank reversed the boutique charge. The anonymous account that had been tormenting me went silent, then vanished altogether. But not everything wrapped in a neat bow. One evening, I got an email from a strange address, no subject line. Inside was just a short paragraph. I wanted magic. I let people do things in my name I shouldn't have. Not asking questions doesn't erase the fact that I benefited. That makes me responsible. I'm sorry. No name, but the cadence was unmistakably clear. I read it twice, then closed my laptop. Some apologies are like feathers drifting down, others like stones sinking deep. This one sank quietly, and I let it stay there. Weeks passed, and life began to feel normal again. A rainy Friday came with cupcakes in the break room. No hidden agendas, just sugar and laughter. Marisol clinked her paper cup of tea against mine and said softly, "Boundaries aren't betrayal. They're survival." That night, I sat at home and wrote everything down from start to finish. The sticky note with hearts, the fake PTO request, the lip gloss on my windowsill, the anonymous photos. Not to publish, not to share, just so the story lived outside my body and not inside it. When I finished, I typed the question that had haunted me since the very beginning. Was I wrong to say no? I looked at the blinking cursor. I thought about all the chaos that had unfolded from that single refusal, the gossip, the fundraisers, the harassment, the sabotage. And then I realized, the chaos wasn't because I said no. The chaos was because some people couldn't accept it. So I typed my answer, clear and final. No. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is hold your ground when the world is trying to barter away your peace. And sometimes, the happy ending isn't a wedding, or forgiveness, or even justice in the cleanest sense. Sometimes it's as simple as walking out of work on a rainy Friday, cupcake in hand, knowing you didn't betray yourself, no matter how many people demanded that you should.